or another, the police officer decided, you know what, I'm going with you to wherever or to however. And sometimes you do not even understand why the police officer in the first place took you to the police station or took you around in the famously known as Mariamu. Like, you'll just go for rounds and they'll just drop you wherever they can. So those are some of the things we're going to discuss about. But the first question I will definitely ask, who is an arrested person?
Well, an arrested person by law is someone who has been detained by the police. Captured, detained, restrained by the police after the commission of a crime. Now, the crime might be an arrest with a warrant, where in the corruption cases where they do an investigation over a period of time, then the court issues a warrant of arrest. Or it might be in instances where the police see what we call a cognizable offense. At the face of it, it's an offense. I mean, for example, if a policeman walks past you and another individual slapping each other around, that at the face of it is assault. And he would be avoiding his duty if he just walked away and he said, let them slap each other around. So at that instance, he has a duty as an officer to maintain this public order and to stop you from assaulting each other.
Okay, so that is an arrested person. Once you're captured and there's something that either a police officer suspects you have done, that is contrary to the law, right? Previously, we were having a discussion, and something that caught my attention is that there's a difference between a person who's detained and a person who's arrested. What's the difference?
Now, the most common scenario that I'd use, which I've found myself severally, is with a traffic policeman, where they say, weka gari kando. Now, he hasn't told you why you've put it on the side of the road. And as an obedient citizen, when he tells you weka gari kando, perhaps here's where I put a public service announcement and I just tell you, weka gari kando, don't drive off or for fear or anything. Just put your car on the side of the road. Sometimes the officer might be busy, might be doing other things, and you'll spend a couple of minutes there. That is, you've been detained by the policeman. This is the land between freedom and arrest. If you drive off, then you've failed to obey a lawful command. Where you've been asked, weka gari kando. And that in itself will compact your situation. You know, they're very enterprising the cops out there who might chase you all the way home and tell you, did you know I told you why I told you weka gari kando? And that in itself is a crime. And now, the arrest would happen after the officer has inspected your vehicle. Typically they say, unajua umefanya nini, which I never answer that question because we'll talk about it later on. They'll ask you, do you know what you've done? And I tell them, I don't know what I've done. When I'm driving, I'm a driver. And again, I'll tell you that later on. I try not to be a lawyer and tell him the Traffic Act section, what. No, he's the one who's arrested you. So he should be the one who's told you why he has stopped you. He's the one who's detained you, sorry. Now, after he says, perhaps your fog light, or, you know, you have LED lights on your screen, or, you know, you can't put the picture of your wife on the back windscreen, it's obstructing the rear view, and he tells you, let us go to a police station, then it graduates to an arrest.
All right, thank you very much. That's amazing. That's something I've never really thought about. Now, once somebody is arrested, leave alone being detained, okay, you were detained, you were found to have something that was not okay, and now you have been arrested. Apparently somebody has rights, and that's why we're having this discussion of the rights of an arrested person. What are some of these rights?
Now, straight off the bat, I need to warn Kenyans and on this term rights.
Mm-hmm.
Now, every right has a corresponding duty.
Mm-hmm.
When you're rowdy at a police station, you'll be restrained by the police, who are very, some of them have worked out, and you'll not like the restraining.
Yeah.
So even before you go to rights, I think I have a pre-checklist that I need to let you know. That first of all, when you are arrested by a police officer, are you sure that this is a police officer? Because we've had instances where people have disappeared and their families have sworn by everything holy that these are the police officers that arrested them, only for the authorities to release statements and say, these people are not us. Hatuajui. Who are those?
They are not us.
Are we? Are we us? You know, that kind of scenario. So it's important, first of all, and what I always do is if it's a uniformed officer, I master his number. Their numbers are usually on their sweaters or their coats on the left-hand side. If they do not have a number, you know, in a friendly way, I ask them, nani mwenzangu?
Okay.
I'd like to know who you are first. For the fellows in the DCI services, they quickly whip out their badges and they tell you, not that I've been arrested by the DCI, but they show you their badges and know their names. Now, you know this officer, you know their names. There might be a vehicle that is carrying you. If you can, text the number of the vehicle to someone close to you. Hi, I've been arrested by Inspector so-and-so or Corporal so-and-so from this police station, and we are in this vehicle. If you've been arrested, they will inform you of your reasons, the reasons of your arrest. And they will also inform you of your right to remain silent. They'll also inform you of your right to an advocate.
Yes.
They should inform you of those three things. Now, this is a should, and this is not necessarily a thing that happens regularly with most of the clients that I've met, because most of the clients that we have out there in conflict with the law are this kind of people who don't understand these are their rights, and these are the people we are talking to. If you're heading to a police station or if you're heading to any direction, I advise that if they're telling you you're going to, Makadara police station, for example, call someone and very loudly tell them I'm heading to Makadara police station. Because some of these things you're arrested for are shakedowns. You know, where you're taken round the whole of Moi Drive in Umoja the whole night, and people paying different, allegedly, because we don't have proof of this.
We've not seen.
But we hear that people are taken round and round and round, and eventually they're told to give different sums of money, and they never make it to the police station. And also this prevents something that we have seen happening in this country, where an individual is arrested in location X and they find themselves in location Y in another county, 3 counties away. I might not perhaps point these situations because there are other advocates dealing with those matters, but this is perhaps something that those advocates can come and discuss.
Talk about,
Now, on top of them informing you of the reason for your arrest, and informing you is not asking you, unajua nimekushikia nini, because there are a lot of reasons you can arrest me. Sijalipa housing levy, my KRA account doesn't have a password. There are so many reasons that you can point to them that you think are the reasons to arrest you. Remember, they are the officers and they need to inform you of your reasons. And from the minute you're under arrest, they have that duty to do that. You can remain silent for as long as you are arrested to the trial, even to the defense hearing. You don't have a duty to tell them anything or to speak. You have that right to remain silent. Now, you also have the right not to be compelled to make a confession. You know, sema tu alafu tutakuachilia, sema tu alafu, you know, the kind of situations where they put you into where there's nothing but you just making a confession. That compulsion need not be there. So you can decide to stay silent for as long as you want. Now, if you're in remand, when you arrest as an arrested person, you have a right to be held in separate cells from prisoners. So what I mean is, an arrested person is not a convicted person.
Okay.
That's another discussion.
Yeah.
Conviction comes after the end of the case,
Yeah.
and an arrested person is at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you have been arrested as perhaps the most common one is for a traffic offense. You shouldn't be put in a cell together with someone who has been convicted of an offense. You should be in separate cells.
Okay.
So that's why we have industrial area remand and committee prison.
Yeah.
Those are two separate places. And even in committee, where the remandees, the remandees are kept separate from the convicted persons. And the one that they flout, just as I speak about that one, I remember that as children in conflict with the law, because children can't be arrested persons.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
are children in conflict with the law, that is anyone below the age of 18, then you have to be kept in a separate cells from adults. And as a child, I insist that you need to inform your parents. Your parents must know where you are. Because as a child, we assume, even if you're 17 and a half, 17 and 3/4, birthday yangu ni next week, you need to inform your parents that you've been arrested, because they're the ones that can make that decision.
Yeah.
And then finally, the one that gave birth to the famous Kamata Kamata Fridays is you have to be produced in a police station within a reasonable time after your arrest. Reasonable means 24 hours if it's a weekday, the next working day if it's before a weekend, or after a holiday. And if you're not produced, then they need to give reasons for this delay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there are reasons that can cause one not to be produced, apart from the fact that there's a holiday or it's the weekend.
Yeah. The most common one that I hear a lot in court is where they need to conduct further investigations. So suppose a police officer walks into a house and sees a murder scene and an individual holding a knife. Straight at the face of it, it looks like murder.
Yeah.
But the ingredients of murder need perhaps autopsy reports, forensic reports, and other details that would take a longer period to do. But they wouldn't let you go and tell you, you just go on with your day, let's finish investigations, and then we'll come and arrest you.
Why not?
Later.
Isn't that what's supposed to happen?
No, that's what happens in the movies, but in reality, it is extremely difficult to keep on following, trying to trace these criminals once you've left them. I remember in our discussion, I told you before that a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Sometimes they would rather, I'm not holding grief for IPOA and the police forces, but sometimes they would rather detain this person or keep them, arrest them at a police station, go and make a miscellaneous application in court, conduct investigations, and then release who needs to be released and keep who needs to be kept.
What happens to you? You are detained or you are arrested for no reason then?
Well, the jury has been out on that one. I have my reservations on them arresting you and figuring out what they will charge you with later. But you see, that is the law.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to understand that the police can only operate within the law.
Yes.
And they have extremely limited resources compared to the work that they're required to do.
What?
For example, every trafficking of a narcotic substance or anything related to cannabis needs to go to the government chemist for verification.
Yeah.
Is this actually a narcotic or
Yeah.
is this grass that smells like weed? Now, if they are taking 100 of those to the government chemist every day from one court or from an area, and you see it's a particularly stretched kind
Yeah.
of force,
Yeah.
and we need to again use this loosely as defense counsel, understand that there are limits to what the police can do.
Yeah.
And that's why they ask for this extra timelines. As an accused person, you can argue for them to, reduce these timelines or kill these
Incoming call from
timelines.
Celestial
Or
rolling on the floor laughing identified by Truecaller.
as an accused person, you can have them identify, reduce the number of days. You can always argue for a reduction of this. And courts have, in instances where the police have asked for 14 days, courts have granted them maybe 3 or 2 days.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, let me ask, at what point do you call a lawyer as an arrested person?
Well, typically I tell my clients, the minute that you see a police officer and he tells you, weka gari yako kando, call your lawyer.
Hey.
If you see things escalate to a point, I want to assume, and the word here is assume, that every time police officers arrest you, they have good reason to.
Yeah.
And it's not because of that other thing that Eric Wanaina sang about, China inspector. And you see, if at the face of it you see yourself heading to a police station, or you see this thing escalating, call a lawyer immediately. For, again, children, anyone below the age of 18, I'll tell you, the minute that anyone in authority arrests or detains you, call your parent. It doesn't matter what you're doing, where you are. Call your parent and tell your parent, tulienda safari rally, we went to the safari rally, and we've been stopped. Doesn't matter how it looks like, but it's worse if your parent doesn't know, because sometimes parents can help this.
Yeah.
For individuals, call your lawyer as soon as possible. If you don't have a lawyer, that is all right. When you get to the police station or anywhere, you can ask the officers, I'd like a lawyer. Those can be your only words. I'd like a lawyer. Of course, people who've been arrested understand that it's an entirely different conversation once you're arrested, but it is, it would be me failing society if I told you to speak to the police officers in any other way aside from saying, call a lawyer.
Yeah.
You see, there are instances where, as I've said, sometimes you're walking around in town and you're young looking and you have 2 laptops and someone arrests you and says, let's go to Central. You can also explain yourself. I've had instances where I've explained myself to the officers and I said, this is what is happening. The most common one was the LED lights thing, where traffic officers kept on stopping me, and I explained to them, this is how these cars were made.
Yeah.
Unless you want us to modify these vehicles, but this is how they came. And in a very respectful and in a very non-confrontational way. The mistake I hear a lot of people do is they shout, I know my rights, and they do not know them.
Oh, God.
And they shout, this is harassment. I know my rights. Do you know who I am? Do you know who my parents are? And you see, we sometimes think that policemen are people from Mars and they land and, every day they are our neighbors, they are our uncles, they are our aunts.
Yeah. Right.
And if you escalate a situation and you don't have a conversation with this individual, it is likely to go beyond even repair.
Yeah.
So as you know your rights, you can be silent about your rights, call or text your lawyer, and your lawyer can be that call, hi, I've been arrested by Inspector so-and-so. We are in this vehicle, we are heading to this police station. Can you meet us there?
Okay. Now, can you please explain the process of from being arrested to getting to the court? Is there a part the arrested person can play, or you just wait and be presented to the court?
Well, when you're arrested, before you get to the court, there is an individual who is extremely useful in dealing with officers that arrest for no reason. And that is, if memory serves me right, the officer commanding the police department. He can either give you a police bond, or at the face of it, he can look at this offense and say, you say he's stolen a chicken. I don't see him with a chicken. And he's wearing a business suit. This is clearly not an offense that I'd like to go on, and he can let it
you
go.
go.
Now, when you get to the police station, you'll be booked in the occurrence book. That is, if the police decide to go on with
The case.
and assuming that it is a legitimate arrest. This is again purely assumption.
Yeah.
They'll decide and they'll book in the occurrence book. And in the occurrence book, they'll put in all the details relevant to your case. If your case is a misdemeanor or a case that can be bailable, they can give you police bond. This is, you know, the typical obstruction, failure to maintain a motor vehicle kind of things. Because traffic is typically what you're arrested for mostly in Nairobi.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there are no other crimes here.
But it's the most common.
And typically those ones are the ones that they'll give you a police bond to attend court. And when they give you a police bond to attend court, don't assume that you've been set free na, you know, quote unquote, tumewalambisha na tumeenda zetu. Now, if your case is to be held in police cells, you'll be held in police cells. In both instances, you will need to appear in court when required.
Yeah.
The police bond will be bond to attend court the next day or the next court date, and it will specify which court you're attending to. If there is any confusion as to which court you're supposed to go to on the police bond, you can go to the police station, just write back. When you get to the gate and you're not sure whether you're going to what court, go back to the police officer and tell him, you wrote this bond, you've written this bond, what court would you like me to go to?
Yeah.
Now, after you're arrested, the next day you'd get to, you'd be given your court date. If you're arrested, knock on wood, today, you'd attend court tomorrow for arraignment or the day after tomorrow. This is the 24-hour rule that Kenyans like relying on.
The 24 hours. All right. And maybe finally, as we sum it up, once you're already in court, there is this allegation that lawyers have this tendency of telling or advising their clients, say you're not guilty. Just deny everything. Why is that so?
Because guilt is not for you to necessarily accept. Now, you see, courts, if you want morality, you'll go to church. In courts of law, there are church or religious institutions. Courts of law are courts of law.
Yeah.
And guilt is a matter to be proven. And you see, in instances of arrest, it's beyond reasonable doubt.
True.
If you start by saying you're guilty, and you know there are instances where individuals have said they are guilty and they do not understand the gravity of the offense.
Yeah.
You know, someone is fighting, a phone is lost, and then they say, yes, I was fighting. They don't understand that those are the ingredients of robbery with violence.
Yeah.
And robbery with violence carries a death penalty. Someone has been kept in remand on or you know, they were arrested on the Thursday before Easter, they're brought to court on Tuesday. They just say, I want to accept and go home.
And go home,
And you don't understand that the ingredients of the offense would be very grave.
Yeah.
What I would advocate to my clients is first, before even you say guilt or innocence, you need to understand that that is a matter to be proven by facts, evidence, supporting whatever charge that they are alleging. So you need to be very careful when you get to a court of law, when you get to a police station. Do not admit guilt unless you are doing so after being advised by an advocate. If your advocate by any chance tells you, accept it, then fine, accept it by all means. But if you do not have professional legal advice, I will tell you, don't. Wait and find a lawyer, and then the lawyer will advise you. Not a cousin who's studying law, or a fourth-year neighbor who's in law school.
Yeah.
Get an advocate of the High Court. We have legal aid programs in the country that are coming in. Find an advocate who's seated in court and just ask them for advice before you plead to the charges. Or better yet, hire a lawyer. It's cheaper than the alternative.
Yeah. Word. And just speaking on the same, it is allegedly, it is believed that it is more, if you're not able to get your own lawyer, that the lawyers, the pro bono lawyers that are given to arrested individuals or individuals in court are usually not the best of lawyers, or they'll just handpick anyone or somebody who is fresh from the bar. You just come and do this. That unless you have good money, you cannot get good legal representation. How true is this?
Well, I happen to be in law firms that do a lot of pro bono work, and we have some of the best minds, including myself. If I may toot my own horn, toot. But pro bono lawyers are typically starting lawyers because essentially they have more time.
Yeah.
But you see, as our needs go up, and just looking at law as a career, people need to make money and earn so that they can sustain themselves. You can only do pro bono for so far.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the seniors in the profession, all of them did pro bono at some point.
Yeah.
And it's something that should be passed on to the younger generation. You learn quickly, you get to appear in different courtrooms. I've appeared in courtrooms with pro bono briefs, still do a number of pro bono briefs. In fact, a majority of them are pro bono. And the world of opportunity that it opens you up to in terms of learning and interacting with other advocates is immense. We have a legal aid act as a country that is yet to be fully operationalized, and it intends to, the intent of the drafters of that law was to provide legal aid to individuals who can't afford it, to what we call indigent persons. We have a number of cases in court that are challenging this, the right to legal aid. And we are hoping that maybe the courts will come up with a system to ensure that people who appear in court don't just get what we call the young upcoming lawyers, who are very competent, by the way, but they will get the right kind of aid and the right kind of support they can do it. The judiciary has a stipend that it gives advocates who do pro bono work, but again, this is 15,000 over a period of maybe you've handled the case for 10 or 5 years.
Not very encouraging.
Not very encouraging to someone who's young.
Yeah.
You start out young and you're energetic and young. But again, these other lawyers have developed ways of supporting themselves. We have wonderful organizations that are funding pro bono work in the country. And these organizations, for example, Kituo cha Sheria, they really pick the best lawyers to help them with their work. So it's not exactly true that you don't get the best when you do pro bono. You get just the lawyer would get them. Just when I was doing my clinicals, I did it with a chief magistrate who's now a judge of the High Court. And I remember that every time he saw an instance where someone needed a lawyer, he called a lawyer by name and asked him, could you take up this matter? And that is something that maybe we need to encourage our judicial officials to do more. I am informed that this happens more in the outstations outside Nairobi, but it's something that particularly I'm passionate about in let's get more legal aid to indigent persons. Yeah.
Wow. And that sums up today's discussion. Oh my God, this is just, well, there's so much more that we can still talk about when it comes to the issue, on the issue of the rights of arrested persons and the whole thing. I think the next time when we come back, we'll now get deep into court matters, what happens inside the court, and maybe just a little bit of explanation of, we only hear in movies, objection, sustained, go. We don't know whether it really happens here in Kenya. Or my client, no, Your Honor, you don't know. We will ask those questions during the next time. So I'll probably allow you to maybe give us your parting shot as we come to a close.
Well, I believe that as a Kenyan, every Kenyan has a duty to uphold and defend the Constitution. And this includes even when it comes to arrested persons. Arrested persons are not criminals per se. Until they are proven guilty, they have a right to innocence. And this needs to be maintained. I'd call upon every advocate in the country, in different outstations, to just make an effort to take up more pro bono matters and make sure that people in conflict with the law, children in conflict with the law and accused persons don't face the entire machinery of the judiciary without even being known. I'd love such stations to take up this effort in knowing your law, and let's have more legal aid clinics around the country so that we are a more competent nation when it comes to the law and not in the obnoxious, proud and very destructive way, but in a way that will help our country.
Wow, thank you. That's an amazing piece right there, very dear to my heart. What did you call them? Those who cannot get money for the legal process?
We call them indigent persons.
Yes, I have a special place in my heart for such people. And I do believe if you're watching this and you would really, really love to be a part of whatever is going on, reach out to us, CBN TV. Are you in anywhere in the social media platforms?
Well, I'm across all social media platforms. On Twitter, I am at Tajimra, Tajimra. On Instagram, the same way. On Facebook, it's my full name. I'm one of those old school people. Yeah, I'm not on any other platform.
Yeah, okay.
I barely have time for them, but I will make time.
All right.
Yeah.
No, okay. So there, Tajimra.
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 Tajimra. Yeah, you can head out there in case you have questions or want to continue the conversation further with our advocate right here. That is where you can find him. ABN TV across all our social media platforms. That is where we are. We will also get the question to him in case you have a question, an issue, or something that you want us to take care of. That marks the end of ABN TV Know Your Law today. And until next time, allow me to say God bless, have a good night, and indeed we will see when the Lord allows. Thank you.